Hey everyone, welcome back to Vintage and Voltage with Mike ripping for rookies over here, and I, Mr. Maiden. And this episode is by request from a few people in the chat a couple weeks ago, and looking at you, Goody G.
Yeah, I think it
Again,
was PG was one of the first ones.
he was, and hopefully everybody enjoys this. Had a great time going down the rabbit hole. Hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend last week, and getting ready for Christmas, right?
Oh yeah, it's coming up. 2.5 weeks away already. Jeez,
I probably should
time
get
flies.
Christmas shopping there soon. Yeah. Well, whatever. It is what it is. The great procrastinator. So let's say hi to everybody, and then we'll get into the rock news of the week. And then we'll talk about one of the greatest punk rock bands that ever existed, the MC5. All right, so let's go up top. We got Matthew Pitsley coming in first. Thank you, Matthew. I certainly appreciate you being here. And then we have my friend and yours, Dewey Thacker. Thanks for being here, Dewey. And of course, myself. Got to be there. And then we have Zach's Collection. Thanks for being here, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Appreciate you. And he's a great co-host. And speaking of Zach and Incarnito, next weekend we're going to do a throwback episode of Spin That Wax with Tim, myself, and Zach. We're going to do hopefully have some mandatory fun, and hopefully Dr. Fun makes his appearance. That should be interesting and fun. So we'll look forward to that. And the reason for the subject matter tonight, Goody G, thanks for being here, Goody.
What's up, Goody?
I appreciate you being here. One of the best TTM guys in the business, along with Zach and Adam and a few other people. National Parks Princess, thanks for being here. She had a great video today. I will be watching the rewind. NPP, I was out this afternoon. I do apologize. And we have Gaza. Thanks for being here, Gaza, all the way from the UK. It is midnight there now.
Yes, it is. 5 hours.
So I certainly appreciate that. And hey, Glenn, thanks for being here. Glenn Robach is here. Great guy. Appreciate you being here, Glenn. And let me see. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Budget Rips coming all the way from Michigan. We're going to talk about the MC5, Brian. Hopefully you can hang around. Sure you know a little bit about them. And, let me see here. I think Budget mentioned it as well. Hey, Harry, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here.
As soon as it was mentioned in the chat about doing MC5, a lot of people chimed in. And the funny thing was, considering I've been on this planet for 60 years, I didn't know who they were until 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And awesome. The past 3 weeks, I have gone down a rabbit hole, not only of music, but of what was going on at the time when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, not knowing anything that was going on. And it's been truly enlightening.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. Like we could do 2 or 3 episodes. We probably will do another one after this, but we'll get into the first few years of the MC5 tonight. And before we do that, I want to say hi to Danielle Davis. She's a great supporter of the channel, and Dig it as well. Thanks for being here, Dig. I appreciate you. And Goody G's got a new video out, new TTM short, so we can go check that out.
Cool, Goody.
And we'll go check that out here after this. And so the MC5 were, I think, the right band at the right time in the right place with the right environment. It was just everything just came together to make something really special. But this day in music, a bunch of things happened. I know we were talking about this before the show, so enlighten our guests while they come in. Hey, Nature Dog.
Okay, so the big album that was released this day, and it was back in 1973. It was Emerson, Lake and Palmer Brain Salad Surgery, which had some very interesting and some very unique songs on there. Transforms technical prowess into delirious art, where mechanical precision meets emotional risk. The album sounds very like the future imagined through analog dreams. Brilliant, messy, and magnificent in its ambition. And yeah, that's pretty much how I would describe it. The track listing on it was basically side one was Jerusalem Toccata, Still You Turn Me On, which is a beautiful song, a beautiful Greg Lake song. With the if you ever see him do it live in concert, he does it just solo by himself with the guitar, and it is unbelievable. And then you have the Carnival 9, 3 impressions. So it's the first impression, which is probably close to almost 14 minutes. The second impression, which is, or first impression part 2, which is the one that has been released as the single, which you know from listening to the radio FM back in the day. And then you have Carnival 9 second impression and third impression. So yeah, it's been many re-releases of that, additional songs added to it. But just a very great album, probably my favorite album from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They tried to, they did, I didn't want to say tried to do, they incorporated progressive music with classic music, and were the one band that actually really pulled it off. That it came out of nowhere and kind of exploded, and they became one of the biggest groups of the 70s, as far as prog anyway. Not going up against Zeppelin, because nobody went up against Zeppelin in the 70s. That's pretty much it. So what else do you have? We have something from you, one of your favorite bands in 2024.
Yeah, Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden. He had retired from touring, so got his autograph there. That is not beautiful. Yeah, so he retired from touring. He's still in the band. He still records, but he's not touring anymore with Iron Maiden. Mm-hmm. They have another drummer, which is the drummer from British Lion, and so they're on tour now with the Days of Future Past. And Goody G, December the 4th was the anniversary of Zappa's passing. That is true, sir. Yeah, that is very true. So those things, again, all part of that rock and roll history, right?
And I couldn't believe it when I saw that Nico was 72 when he retired. That's amazing. Goody. That's absolutely amazing.
And that's after he had a stroke, rehab, toured the world, and then retired.
Yeah.
And manages a restaurant in Florida.
And even though, it was Brain Salad Surgery was released on this day in 1973, also on this day in 2016, lead singer Greg Lake of the Emerson, Lake and Palmer passed away following a battle with lung cancer at the age of 69 years old. So we lost another great musician, another great voice.
A force of music in the 70s.
9 years ago. Yeah.
Gaza is asking a very important question. He says, why did the musician break up with his guitar? There's too many strings attached.
You're damn right.
Ain't that the truth, Gaza, man? Ain't that the truth? Anyways, for everybody, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. It pushes the stream out a bit more. And
guess I better do that. There we go.
We appreciate it. Yeah, I should do that too. I'll do that after the stream. And a couple of cool things that I want to talk about the MC5 was how instrumental they were, how important they were to the time, how instrumental they were to influence other musicians, including Iggy Pop and the Stooges. there's so much to unfold and unpack here. So we're going to get into this for about 45 minutes. So settle in, settle down. I'm going to show you a really cool version of Kick Out the Jams, which is the remaster on CD, which has a bunch of extra tracks. So again, if you haven't gotten it, you should. We're going to also talk about Back in the USA, which is an awesome proto-punk record. It's a really good album. And I should get this off the screen here. And we're going to get into all kinds of stuff. The history, the political climate, all of that. Hey, Jameson, strap in. Jameson, you're a young guy. You're gonna learn some history tonight. So hopefully you enjoy. So if you haven't, Jameson, please hit the like button. And if you don't mind, add a comment after as well. Thanks, Nature Dog. I appreciate the support. Really appreciate the super sticker. And you guys are awesome. 15 in the house. Love the support we're getting here. We're building this grassroots, Mike and I. We're learning as we go. And we appreciate everybody's support and suggestions, criticism, feedback, all of that. So,
and the good thing is that we're learning. That's the good thing.
What are you going to say, right? So now, before we get into this too much, I want to show this album. So I'm going to talk about the history of the band, but we're going to put this album up a little bit. And then Mike's going to talk a little bit as well, and we're going to go back and forth. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and take a look at this epic, monumental record that changed history. Changed music history, changed American history, changed everything.
Well, it changed American history for those who listened to this album. I mean, unfortunately, with the political times at that time, it was kind of like an underground album, unfortunately.
Well, like I said, the amount of musicians that it influenced afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
The MC5's leftist political ties and anti-establishment lyrics and music position them as emerging pioneers of the punk rock movement in the United States. Remember, punk rock really only broke in 79 and 77 in England, 78, 79 in America, and this was in the 60s. So they were at the start of something. They didn't even know what they were doing. They didn't even know what they were building.
And it took 10 years for it to actually, hit the mainstream.
Exactly.
Where this music was called punk rock.
Exactly. Because before it was garage rock, it was all kinds of different names, different blends. I know Rob Tyner and Wayne Kramer both were influenced by, the Venturers, Dick Dale, other garage bands at the time, Bill Haley and the Comets, Chuck Berry, all of those bands. And you could hear a lot of that in their music. But they went on to influence, like here's an example. Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine, the modern day version of the MC5, if you want to talk about political bands. But he asserts that they invented punk rock. I am not going to disagree with them. It's a strong argument, and maybe we can have that conversation someday, because it's a conversation that's worth having. But that's one huge band that they influenced. And how many people have been influenced by Rage Against the Machine?
True.
Tons.
True. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was something at the time, in 67 or 67, 68, 69, you didn't hear this type of music. So you didn't know what it was. You couldn't categorize it as anything. And, it like I said, it took 10 years for it to become a category that everybody would understand what it was. But it was so, 10 years for it to actually become something when it was something back then, but they didn't know what it was. It wasn't like any of the other bands that were out there. It wasn't like Cream. It was kind of the Who in a way, kind of rebellious, the punks versus the mods and stuff like that. But there's another story about bands that played in the United States that had MC5 open for them, which I can get into because I saw a documentary on it. It was like a 2.5 hour documentary. And it was this one woman that was talking about MC5 and basically giving you from start to finish everything. And it was really interesting. But yeah, the MC5 developed a reputation for energetic and phenomenal live performances, one of which was recorded in the 1969 debut album Kick Out the Jams, which Maiden has right there. The band then released the albums Back in USA and High Time before disbanding in 1972. And there's other iterations of MC5 that we will cover at a later time, but we just want to focus on these 3 albums, this era, and what happened during that time. And trust me, a lot happened in just those 3 years. A lot.
Oh yeah. And I'll touch about the early years from 63 to 67. And then Mike's going to talk about the political influences and where all this sort of where John Sinclair comes in, where the FBI was following these people. They called them revolutionaries. There's a lot to it. So just to boil it down, the origins of the MC5 came from Wayne Kramer and Fred Smith. They were huge fans, like I said, of Chuck Berry, Garage Rock, The Venturers, Dick Dale, and they had their own bands. Fred Smith had the Vibratones and Kramer had the Bounty Hunters. And then they merged together to form the Bounty Hunters, and then the Bounty Hunters became the MC5. And they were looking for a manager, and they found Rob Derminer, and he originally auditioned as their bass player, which then went on to get replaced by Smith, and then another guy named Bob Kaspar, and then eventually they settled off, and he became their lead singer. He changed his name to Rob Tyner because John Coltrane's pianist, his name was McCoy Tyner. So he was trying to emulate and bring in more of a John Coltrane soul gospel music because that was his background. And he had a baritone voice, like it was booming. And he's as ugly as sin too, eh? Like he wasn't your quintessential front man. He was ugly as sin. He had a big afro. He really didn't fit into the mold of, the Robert Plant of the time, right? He was the anti-establishment front man, which again made it work. And then so they used Lady Ann Marsden. She was an archery champion and a beauty pageant lady. She became their first manager, and then she was replaced by the writer and poet and radical leftist John Sinclair. And in 67, the 5 released the cover of the band Them, a cover of the song I Can Only Give You Everything. And then on the B side was their song, the original song called One of These Guys. And it was on the AMG label. If you can find that nowadays, you're probably looking at a couple of $1,000. It's in good shape, And so we want to talk more about John Sinclair and the influence he had on MC5 and pulling them into the direction that would ultimately bring on Kick Out the Jams, all of the crazy stuff, and all the things that they were doing. Hey, Chris Works, thanks for coming. So, Mike, we were talking about that before behind stage. You know quite a bit about sort of what went on behind the scenes. Maybe you can tell some of the folks a little bit of that.
What was going on behind the scenes with the band?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of talked about it. Is like they were anti-establishment, and the establishment was going after them. They didn't want this band to speak, pretty much, or make music, or be heard to the masses. It was the time when, there was so much stuff going on with, the Cold War, the, Cuban Missile Crisis, all that stuff was going on. Everybody, if you weren't American, if you were a communist and stuff like that. So everybody was on edge, with the country was on edge. The FBI was following this band left and right. They were in Detroit. Apparently their van got firebombed. Are we going a little bit too far in the future, Maiden?
No, well, this all came around Kick Out the Jams. So we're going to talk about Kick Out the Jams and go into the album. I just want people to have a background of what this album came around and what it was.
And it was the riots in Detroit where what was it, 40 people dead, thousands injured, and
race riots
and everything that was going on there. The one song that was Detroit's Burning was a cover from, who was it, Maiden?
John Coltrane.
John Coltrane wrote the song about his city, and what was going on with the riots and everything. Now, what the riots in Detroit, John Coltrane wrote the song, and MC5 covered it on this album. And it's like the government was like at a point where they were censoring everything. And if it wasn't politically correct, you were going to come under attack from the government. And, Detroit was such a hotbed of everything that was going on. They went to Ann Arbor, and the FBI was right on their tail. They would not stop following this band. And it was a band that was speaking out for the people at the time. And when you have somebody that's standing up against, I guess we should call it the machine is going to try to get them and censor them. So that's what it came down to. So let's see, in early 1968, the band's second single was released by Translove Engineers on A Square Records, though without knowledge of the label's owner, G. Polland. Housed in a striking picture sleeve, it comprised of 2 original songs, Borderline and Looking at You. The first press sold out in a few weeks, and by year's end, it had gone through more pressings, total several thousand copies. Third single that couple was I Can Only Give You Everything, with the original I Just Don't Know appeared at about the same time with the AMG label as well. The MC5 toured the East Coast of the United States, which generated an enormous response, with the group often overshadowing the more famous acts that they opened up for. And it's funny because when I was watching that documentary, they opened up for Cream and basically blew Cream off the stage, which was kind of hard to do.
Considering,
many bands would never tour with them again in the United States. The one band that you think would have been just as crazy as they were The Who. MC5 played their opening set. It was only supposed to be 30 minutes. They played for over an hour. And after the hour was over, they destroyed the stage. The Who could not perform after that. The Who then came back and said that if we are ever on the bill with MC5, we will open for them. So talk about The Who which was known for destroying amps and drum kits and all that debauchery on stage. They were basically one-upped by MC5.
Totally.
Yeah. So and there were a few more bands. There were a couple of folk bands that they opened for.
Big Brother, Janis Joplin, Big Brother and Holding Company.
Yeah, I mean it's like I guess back in the day, you really didn't know who your opening band was. You know, you didn't watch them audition for you or anything like that. You would just pick the band. Okay, MC5 is going to open, and we're like, okay, MC5, sure, whatever band that is. And then they come out and they start playing this pre-punk stuff, and you're a folk band. And you're like, whoa, what is going on here? You know?
Exactly.
Let's see. So then MC5 became the leading band in a burgeoning hard rock scene, serving as mentors to fellow Michigan bands, the Stooges and the Up. Danny Fields of Electric Records came to Detroit to see MC5, and Kramer's recommendation, he wants to see the Stooges. Fields was so impressed they ended up offering contracts to both bands in 1968. So that's when they got signed by Elektra, and Kramer was only going up to see, or Danny Fields was only going up to see the Stooges, but they signed the Stooges and MC5 at the same time. They were the first hard rock groups to be signed by Elektra Records. And yeah, so I don't know if I have those notes, but I will let you continue with that. Let's just say precursor. Yeah, things happened between them and Elektra.
Oh yeah, it certainly did, and we'll get into that here after we talk a little bit about this. The Kick Out the Jams record actually was recorded live between October 30th and 31st, 1968, at Detroit's famous Grand Ballroom. It contained such songs from the proto-punk classics as Kick Out the Jams, Rucker Deuce number 62, and the Spaced Out Starship. And they also had an extended cover of John Lee Hooker's Motor City Burning. And That's Her Tyner praises the role of the Black Panthers during the riots in 1967, the race riots that happened in Detroit in the mid-60s. And the album was released in January 1969. Although the reviews were mixed, the album was pretty successful, sold 100,000 copies, peaking at number 30 on the Billboard, and had a 23-week stay. So the original release had Kick Out the Jams, Motherfuckers, printed on the inside of the album cover, which we will show. But it was pulled from stores, and then they had to censor it. They released two versions. The first Canadian printing still has that in the song as well as on the album cover. And it was pulled right from the start in America and issued with a censored cover, which we'll show here in a minute. This album was a gatefold, so it's split in the middle, revealing pictures. I'll show you. So here's the back cover. And then here was the original. And as you can see right before John put his little John Hancock there, it has Kick Out the Jams with the infamous MFer. And then here is the censored version where they just whited out the text and then reprinted it. So that's the whole controversy around that album, was the name and the lyric of Kick Out the Jams, Mother Effer. It was changed to Kick Out the Jams, Brother and Sisters. So now, that's the radio.
These photos were taken by one of the top photographers from Rolling Stone magazine.
That is very true.
Yeah.
It's such an epic photo, though. Like, look at those.
Yep.
Totally epic. Now, here, I'm going to remove this.
That's the way the photos were in the psychedelic era. It was just a collage of everything.
They were. They're really cool. Here. So here is the remaster of it. It's on CD because I haven't got the remaster on vinyl yet. It comes on a tricolor vinyl. I think it's red, yellow, and blue. It's really cool. And you can see it doesn't have the same cover as a different cover. And it has the infamous Kick Out the Jams. Now, I got this in a lot of CDs I got for almost nothing. on Facebook Marketplace, which was really cool. The only issue was it had some water damage here on the slipcase.
Oh yeah, it got stuck together. Yep.
But the CD was in good shape, and here's the original gig posters from a couple of their shows, which is pretty epic. But the CD was clean, so I was like, you know what? I get to listen to all these epic additional tracks. I'm certainly gonna grab them, and so I wanted to show that for everybody here as well. So there. So this the American Ruse, Kick Out the Jams, the original version, Shakin' Street, Skunk, Tutti Frutti, which is a Little Richard cover.
Little Richard, yep.
Poison, which was another old school song. I think it was either John Coltrane or Muddy Waters covered them. Played Poison. I Got to Keep Moving. Tonight, Sister Ann. I Can Only Give You Everything. Which again is from the single. I Just Don't Know is another single. Looking at You is from the A Square single we talked about. Baby Please Don't Go. That's another old song that wasn't theirs. One of those guys. Rocket Reducer number 62. If anybody's wondering what Rocket Reducer number 62 was, it was like WD-40, like cleaner, like aerosol cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Degreaser. Future Now, Gold, and Sister Ann, which is live with Motorhead's Lemmy. So this is a cool pickup. Again, if you can grab it, get it. If you can get it on vinyl, even better. I really, really love this record. I love the rawness of the album. And to be at the Grand Ballroom that night must have been electric. Honestly, it must have been something wild. There, let's put this back on there and there. And I'll take that there. And so back to the original record. You can see the original record here only had Ramblin' Rose, Kick Out the Jams, Come Together, Rock Reduce number 62 on the first side. And on the second was Borderline, Motor City Burnin', I Want You Right Now, and Starship.
That's pretty much an album that's under 30 minutes.
It is. It was like, 17 minutes on one side and 14 on the other?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And, to capture that live too. It's hard to believe most people wouldn't do a live record as their first record, right? That's the other thing that was really cool. And
it is kind of hard to believe that they would do it, but that's where they were. That's who they were. They were a live band. They were not a studio band. They were a live band. Absolutely. All right. So there's that. And there's a lot more controversy around the record. It was pulled from stores. And because of the whole MFers thing that was printed on the album cover. And so to retaliate, Mike will get into the retaliation, which is actually pretty cool. If you think about the trolling, it's pretty cool. But what solidified MC5 in the underground was this incident. So the Chicago DNC, right, the Democratic National Convention, happened in Chicago in 1968. They played at a protest concert called the Festival of Life. And that was supposed to include bands like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Country Joe and the Fish, all kinds of these anti-Vietnam bands, these people that were really, pushing the political buttons of the establishment. And it was really, really tense in Chicago. Knowing now what happened after this, you can obviously, point to, the riots in Chicago that happened, the whole west side of Chicago burning down, all of this stuff that happened in Lincoln Park. This gig was right at the start of all of that happened. But they were the only ones that showed up. Yep.
They were the only band that showed up to this thing. So that tells you exactly what's up with that, right?
Yeah.
They had guts, but they couldn't secure a proper sound stage or sound system. So they played on the ground and ran an extension cord from a nearby hot dog stand for power.
That's the way to do it.
Which I think is so protest, so DIY.
It's just so rock and roll. That's what it is.
Exactly. And Wayne Kramer, the guitar player, who again was a real driving force of the MC5, he said the atmosphere was very tense. He could feel dark clouds looming. He could feel it in the air. There's a dark presence in the air. The air was thick. He knew something was going to go down. And then, of course, the Chicago Police Department moved in.
Of course.
After a few songs, they declared the Festival of Life protest concert as an unlawful assembly, which is what they do. And then the cops moved in, and then that led off to the infamous police riots of Chicago that happened that night and for the next few weeks after that.
Unbelievable.
Again, like Mike was saying, this band was right at the cusp of everything that was happening, of social change and civil rights and the anti-war movement and all that. Oh, thanks, backstage. I didn't see you there. That's awesome. And Mike's got a cool little trolling thing that they did to troll the department store that tried to ban them for having that album.
The department store was called Hudson's. Detroit-based department store chain refused to stock Kick Out the Jams due to the obscenity. Well, that didn't sit very well with MC5, so they responded with a full-page advertisement in the local underground magazine Fifth Estate saying, basically, stick alive with MC5 and fuck Hudson's. Perfect.
Yep. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that.
Prominently included the logo of MC5's label Elektra Records in the ad. Hudson pulled all Elektra records from their stores.
Oh, yeah.
And in the ensuing controversy, Jack Holtzman, the head of Elektra, dropped the band from their contract. MC5 then signed with Atlantic Records. So, yeah, here comes the push and the pull and the I don't give a crap of the music industry that happens. So if you're a musician and you're a band, your record company is only in it for the money. They don't care about you. They care about how much you make for them, and that's it. And you get a contract, you fulfill your contract, and then you're dead to them. And if you go and do something like this, like speak up, or it's called, what is it called? It's called freedom of speech.
Yes.
They don't want that.
Exactly.
This is all corporation. Corporation doesn't care what you have to say. They will drop you. They will cut you. They will fire you. They will lay you off. They don't care. You conform or you get out.
Exactly. And then they'll sue you for the rest of the money you owe them.
And that's the way it's always been. And that's the way it always will be.
Exactly.
So, throwing my 2 cents in there.
No, hey, I've been there. You've been there. We've all been there.
I just got out of there. Yep.
Now, that leads us to the second release, which is vastly different from Kick Out the Jams, but back in the USA. And I'm going to show this to the fine people here in the audience. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And, hi, Jameson's mother. Thank you for letting him hang out with us. I'm teaching him about some rock and roll history, let's say. And hopefully you don't mind him being here.
We love history because history never changes. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Unless they want to rewrite it.
Well, that's a whole nother subject for another day.
That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day and a whole nother channel.
Exactly, right? All right. So here, let's go here. I don't know if this is going to work. I might have to do it this way. Yeah, I might have to work. Let me see here.
Exactly, Christopher. Go indie, go YouTube, do whatever you need to do. Don't sign. They will take it. They will steal your soul.
They certainly will. There's Back in the USA. So this album here, their second album, was produced by John Landau. John Landau would go on to work with Bruce Springsteen, and actually
I knew the name sounded familiar.
yeah, mentor for the band The River, or the album The River, and the E
Mhm.
Street Band, and all of those Bruce Springsteen type stuff. But this album was one of the first real punk rock records of its time. Coming back before the Sex Pistols and the New York scene with Blondie and the New
New
York
York Dolls.
Dolls
Yep.
and all of that time. They were before this, but it's known for short, fast, hard energy, angry guitar rock. It's very raw. It's it's one of my favorite punk rock records ever. But it was released on the Atlantic label. This is not on Atlantic. This is on Sundays. This is a reissue. Because when this was reissued, they weren't printing records. So this is an older one, just so you know. Because back then you couldn't get albums because they were CDs. So this is an older one. But it had vastly different production and marketing push from Atlantic than when they were on Elektra. So the band sounded radically different. They kick out the jams. The only thing that you could really make out that was similar was Rob Tyner's vocals. But in terms of like the bluesy rock garage sound that they were known for kick out the jams, was not on this record. It
No,
was a vastly different album. Yes, that's right. That's right. Backstage.
that's right,
Uh,
Christopher. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. Backstage said the second and third records were in the cutout bins. That's very true. Um, that's very true.
And
And
Christopher chiming in too. They were kind of punk before punk was genre. Yeah, definitely. 10 years before punk became a genre.
absolutely, and totally agreed, fellas. Both of you.
Yep.
Um, Now the album's production is very compressed compared to the live record from the Grand Ballroom in Detroit, obviously, because it was done in the studio, not live off the floor, and it's very limited in the sonic palette compared to the earlier Kick Out the Jams record, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then the band members went on to say later that John Landau was very overbearing and heavy-handed in the production, and he was really trying to make the group his own thing. And they've come back, and I've heard that they liked it. I've heard they didn't like it. I don't think they're very proud of it in terms of the production, but it's an awesome record, man. Like, it's epic. You know, um, it's revolutionary. Like, okay, so this has got Tutti Frutti on it, a cover from Little Richard. You'll start to see some callbacks to the
A
kick
live
out the
album. Yeah.
Kick Out the Jams remaster, because it does have some of those same tracks that were on this one as well, right? And then there was Tonight, Teenage Lust, which is a great track. Let Me Try, Looking at You. And then on side two was High School, Call Me Animal, The American Ruse, which is about the system being kind of stacked against you. Shake It Street, The Human Being Lawnmower. That title is very obvious. It's one of the most epic tracks in this album. And then Back in the USA from Chuck Berry, a cover. Again, this is on the Sundays reissue label. And there's Rob Tyner there, this big old fro, the genius behind the band, Wayne Kramer. And I'll quickly show you the album. They did the reissue similar to the old Atlantic labels, like the tricolors. It actually looks pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
It looks pretty similar.
Yep.
But the Atlantic label would have Atlantic, and then the MC5 label, similar to what I had on the thumbnail. So they did a pretty good facsimile. And sonically, it sounds pretty good compared to the original record, which I had years ago. But certain people helped liberate that from my collection without my prior written consent. But so you'll see some of the duplication in the next album as well on this remaster, because they did a bunch of remasters of demos and stuff. But Mike will talk about the next album here, which
Well,
is Hard
I'll
Time.
talk about the next album, but I want to talk about this one a little bit also, and what it comes down to is the producer and the production.
Yeah.
the band goes in with an idea, the producer goes in with an idea, the record label goes in with an idea. The producer kind of bows to what the record label says, but the band kind of has to go with what the producer and the record label says because they are under contract and stuff like that. So it's what I said before. This is a live band. Studio bands, there are bands that record in studio that can replicate their music live. There's plenty of bands that can do that. There's some bands that can't do it, that they're only studio bands. I'm going to say from the 3 weeks that I got into this, MC5 is a live band, and that's it. They're not a studio band. They can create something, put them out there, record it live, and that album will be MC5. No influence from the producer or the record company, and that's it. That's them. That's live, and it goes. That's the way I look at this band, and that is very few and far between that a band like that happens, where they can go out, perform live, and just kill it, and in the studio it just doesn't hold up. There's something missing. And Maiden went quiet, so I will go live. So we're going to go to the third album, the band's third album, High Time, proved influential on the 1970s hard rock bands. The album was poorly promoted. Of course, that's what record companies do. Sometimes they will promote you, sometimes they will kill you. And sales were worse than ever. But High Time was a best reviewed of the band's original records upon its initial release. So, okay, so maybe with the third album, did they have the same producer? I don't know, but maybe they were able to find something in the studio that could correlate to their live performance. Let's see. Okay, so it says here the group had much more creative control. Well, there you go. That's what happens. Sometimes the band knows what they're doing other than the producer and the record company. And they were satisfied with the results. This release saw the band stretch out with longer, more experimental pieces like Future Now and the Sun Ra influenced Skunk. Yeah, it is Skunk, sonically speaking.
Yeah. And it was based on Sun Ra's poem, actually.
Okay.
So
they were experimenting.
Again,
that's fine. That's great. That's what the 70s were all about. The 60s and 70s. It's all about experimentation and see where you can take your music to the next level. You know, what you can add to your music. That's what it was about.
It was, yeah. And
it wasn't just about 3 chords and the truth anymore. It was about let's see what else we can do with it.
Again, touching into other genres, getting into prog, getting into more experimental avenues versus just 3-chord punk rock with a political edge, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, influenced so many other bands. That's the thing that is special about these guys.
That's the big thing. That is the big thing. I mean, they were only out for a blip on the musical scale, but that blip hit so many people that I think it might have been bigger than, I mean, everybody's going to say, oh, well, Chuck Berry influenced the Beatles influenced me, this band influenced them. But when you talk about somebody like Rage Against the Machine, which was out 25 years after MC5, and they were influenced by MC5, it's like, that's like the oldies to these kids in Rage Against the Machine at that point. Where did they discover them? How did they discover them? How did I not know about this band for 60 years? And now I found them.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to all the different variants of the Detroit rock scene, the New York rock scene, and all the rock scenes at that point, which were basically the underground. They weren't they weren't the AM FM favorites of the time, but
No, complete
they were
counterculture.
kind of the underground. Yeah, which is what
And
I'm all about.
exactly. And sort of this leads us to sort of the end of the classic lineup of the five. In February 13th, 1972, Michael Davis left the MC5. He was really, really doing drugs heavily, and they pretty much forced him out. And they replaced him with a series of other bass players. And the remaining members recorded 3 new songs. One was called Gold Rush, the other was called Train Music, and the last one was called Inside Out. And it was for the soundtrack from the film called Gold. And it was their final recording session as the quote unquote classic lineup. But they continued a little bit longer. Eventually was reduced to Wayne Kramer, Sonic Smith, and Rob Tyner. And they were touring and playing with Richie Dharma on drums and Derek Hughes on bass. And they were doing what they used to do before they became, again, kick out the jams. They got back to their roots by playing R&B covers and old garage classics, Chuck Berry songs, Little Richard songs, and as well as their original material. But they reunited December 31st, 1972 at the Grand Ballroom for one last show. And there's a few thousand fans. Now it's only a couple of dozen people that showed up. And Wayne Kramer was pretty bummed out by the lack of support, the poor turnout. He was in the throes of his own drug addiction. And the band disbanded not long after that night, New Year's Eve, 1972. Hell yeah, backstage. Wayne Kramer was, and Johnny Thunders. Johnny Thunders is another one. Was a massive figure in the punk rock scene back in the day in the hardcore and stuff. He's a legend, man. Johnny Thunders is still around, actually, I think. Let me see here. All right. And so that takes us basically to post 1972, which is kind of where we're going to sort of end the discussion for the night on the band.
We'll end it, unfortunately, on a downer kind of note because vocalist Rob Tyner died of a heart attack in late 1991 at the age of 46 years old. Way too young.
Oh, yeah.
And was followed by Fred Smith, who also died of a heart attack in 1994, and he was 46. So, we're kind of ending on a depressing kind of note here with that. But their legend lives on. I mean, even though it was for 3 short years, how many people did you influence in 3 short years? Generations of people.
Oh,
yeah.
Burned out very bright and very quick.
Yeah. It's I guess it's better to burn out than fade away, as Def Leppard said. But
as Neil Young said,
yeah. I mean, I guess it's true. Maybe that song was written something about MC5. You don't know. You might have to dig into Def Leppard files and find out about that. Where did they get that term from? But the remaining 3 members reformed in 2003 with the New York City punk legend Dictators singing singer Handsome Dick Manitoba.
Yeah,
as the new vocalist. Okay. And this reformed the lineup occasionally performed over the next 9 years until Michael Davis died of liver failure in 2012 at the age of 68 years old. Various members went on to play in other bands. Some of the accolades, and I'm going to give this one bad accolade to one of our favorite rag magazines of the time, but it was actually listed by Parade as one of the best rock bands of all time. Parade magazine, let's go. VH1 as one of the greatest hard rock artists of all time. The band's first 3 albums are regarded by many as staples in rock music, no doubt about that. 1969 song Kick Out the Jams is widely covered, and it's as it should be. Now, the one thing that I did see as I'm going down this rabbit hole, and this is totally off script. I'm going down the rabbit hole, and I'm looking at Rolling Stone's top 40 punk albums of all time. And of course, number one is the Ramones. Number two is the Clash. And we're going to, you can probably name the top 10. MC5 was not even listed in that top 40. Yeah, that's what I say to Rolling Stone. And that's what I say about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because it's all influenced by Rolling Stone magazine. So if you're not on Rolling Stone magazine, oh, wait a minute, we're going back to the corporation again. If you don't conform to the corporation, they don't care about you.
Nope.
But the people that actually know music and understand music and love music know who this band is and know how important this band was in just the 3 years that they were around.
Oh yeah, they're like in my generation is like Nirvana, right? In the grunge scene.
Pretty much.
Love Bone.
Pretty much.
The Seattle bands that burned out and faded away really quickly, but influenced so many other bands. There's always one in a generation that will do that, right?
It kind of seems that way. I mean, if you were looking at the late 50s, it would probably be like Buddy Holly. If you're looking at the 70s, MC5, the 80s, what band was that? I mean, I guess it was 90s was Nirvana, but who was that band in the 80s? Maybe the Clash, maybe the Sex Pistols. That were
the 80s.
Who was it? Who was it in the 80s?
They're right on the tip of my tongue, Mike, and I can't think of them right now. Joy Division.
Joy Division. Exactly. Yes, they were on the Joy Division. Yeah, okay. I would definitely go with them. But then you get into the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, and it's like, nobody's influencing anybody. It doesn't matter. It just ended. It really ended. There's been no scene since grunge that has redefined rock and roll. I'm not going to say defined. I'm going to say redefined, because it's just an extension of rock and roll. There hasn't been anything since that. And it's been, 35 years? I think it's time that we need to rise up, us old guys, and say, hey, rock and roll is still relevant. And rock and roll, even though it's not played on the radio anymore or anything like that, it's still out there.
Die, man. It'll never die.
It'll never die. I mean, you look at these bands that go out. Metallica can go out and play every stadium in the United States and sell out everyone. Iron Maiden could do the same thing. Rush is doing it now. Yeah, Rush is doing it now. And Rush never had any support from anybody anywhere. Same as Maiden.
No.
They did it the right way.
That's what made them awesome.
Right. Exactly. But then you have you have your Swifties and you have Drake and all that other stuff, and it's like, okay, whatever. Are they actually singing their songs on stage? That's what I want to know.
They're not. No, they're not singing their songs in the studio either. But I digress. So next week we're gonna do a Spin That Wax retro episode with Zach, me, and Tim. We're gonna do some of our funniest moments from that show that we did over on Tim's channel before he did his battle cards. So we're going to go and do that here. And that was the genesis of this. So,
wait a minute. I got one thing. I got to add one thing to this. Very important. If you want to see all about MC5, check out. Oh, that's not the one. That's Jersey Depot. You'll see my order. You don't want to see that. Hold on. You want to go to this lady, Abigail DeVoe. She did it is 2 hours and 40 minutes on MC5. And this is where I got most.
Put the link in the chat.
I'm putting the link right now. Go, if you're in the MC5, please watch this. I got all of my information from this lady. She is amazing. She went through everything from the beginning to the end, all the little tidbits, all the things that happened in Detroit, everything.
It's
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Go over there, support her channel, like her channel, and she's got all kinds of stuff. She's just like this, all this information.
Yeah,
Amazing.
for sure. Make sure you like this video and you share it out. It helps. I appreciate it. All right, Mike, thanks for joining me this week.
You're welcome, buddy.
Enjoy your weekend off. And again, the following week, Mike and I are going to do our favorite rock and roll Christmas songs. So
let's do that.
We're going to be doing that. So that'll be fun. Look forward to that. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Danielle, Nature Dog, thank you for your super chats. Really appreciate you guys very much. You're both wonderful, wonderful ladies. And Incarnito, can't wait to see you back here Sunday with Zach. We're gonna bring out
awesome.
We're gonna bring out Dr. Fucking Fun. So look out. Anyways, talk to you later, everybody.
All right, everybody. Great.
Mandatory
Have a great
fun.
night. Thank